All right, guys, thanks for coming out. Thanks for being patient while we set up the slides. You are actually in the correct session. This will be the Whirlwind tour of Power BI and not the data science introduction. My name is Nick Caldwell. I'm the general manager for Power BI. I started out as an engineering director on the team, and I've been working there for about 3 years now. I'm responsible for the Power BI desktop, the Power BI service, and the Power BI development platform. And hopefully during this session, we're going to show you a little bit of each of those. I think it's been just an incredible journey over the last few years. You've probably saw in the keynote lots of talk about the growth in the service, from 40,000 subscribers all the way up to 5 million. And I can tell you, as a person who is part of this transition, at times it was terrifying. If you were to look at our product about a year and a half, two years ago, we really decided to, from the ground up, rewrite huge portions of the service. And when we flipped the switch and launched back in July, I was a little bit worried. I don't want to know what was going to happen. But after we launched and week over week, we saw those numbers increase. I think we really nailed it. I think we've got something that people are going to be really, really happy about. And the growth shows and the enthusiasm shows. And what we're going to do in this session, as part of giving you a tour, I hope you can also come away with a sense of the philosophy that we use to develop Power BI. You're going to hear a lot about our customer focus. I'm going to drill into that a little bit more. And then, of course, we're going to show you a bit of a product tour. And then at the end of this session, I'm hoping that you can come away excited, enthused, and ready to be a part of the Power BI community. All right? So let's keep moving. First, I want to talk about some of the philosophy behind Power BI decision making and what we decided to work on and how we landed where we are today. And the first thing you have to start with, if you look at BI, are the 3 trends that we believe are most heavily impacting the industry. The first one, which you've heard a lot about today, is just the explosion of data. IoT sources, social data, machine data, log data, all increasing in volume from a multitude of sources. And even more importantly, the ability to take that data and actually process it and make useful decisions that drive greater impact. We're able to do that now at a better time than at any point in history. And this only drives the desire for more data. It's a self-repeating flywheel. More data results in better decisions, results in better business outcomes, results in the desire for more data. The second thing is pushing BI to the edge. We believe that over the last few years, this year in particular, if you read the latest Gartner reports, that end user BI is becoming a place where a lot of the action has happened. That is to say, in previous iterations of BI, they were completely managed centrally by your central IT organization. And what we see more and more is that not only have we enabled self-service at the analyst level, but also at the end user level, customers are able to distribute through sharing, storytelling, other mechanisms in a way that they never had before, and in a way that opens up BI to a vastly larger audience. And we want to tap into that. And tapping into that means you have to build different experiences because it's a new class of customer. The final trend, of course, is SaaS. And you've seen over the last 5-10 years, in every part of computing, SaaS come in and just revolutionize industries. Salesforce with CRM, Zendesk with customer support, Dropbox with things as simple as file shares. Yet, BI remained untouched until now. And we believe the time is ripe for BI to experience the same transformation that so many of these other product categories have. So these are the 3 trends, and we think Power BI taps into them at the right time. The second thing that we look at, which you're going to hear over and over and over again throughout your sessions today, is customer engagement. The way that we design Power BI from the ground up is to bring in customer requests and feed them directly into our product pipeline. And we do this in a multitude of ways. if you were to visit our engineering offices back in Redmond, you would see that multiple times per week, we're having customer focus sessions. You would see that throughout the world, more than 60 user groups have been created, fervidly attended throughout the world. And more than just allowing those user groups to be created and thrive, we actually send our own employees out to those user groups to participate every week. Anywhere on the planet, and if you want to start your own user group, it's very likely that one of my PMs will show up at your user group and participate. And then the final thing, and perhaps my favorite, is the use of user voice. And you probably saw in the keynote some example dashboards of that. These things are entirely true. If you walk in Building 17 in Redmond, walk down the hallway, you will see dashboards in the hallway showing user voice with the top most voted features for Power BI. And we are going one by one and pulling those things into the product. The thing you got to remember is we don't know if we're doing the right thing unless you tell us. And we're going to keep driving, keep being hungry, keep pulling for your opinions until we get it right. So community engagement, absolute top priority for us. The next thing I want to talk about is pace of innovation. And you heard both Amir and James talk about this. I was going to go through this huge list I tried to pull in all the things that we shipped. Instead, I'm going to tell a story. I was just at Gartner conference last week. And Gartner is a great conference. You guys ever been there? You get to sit down with people who are really excited about BI. You get to meet customers. It's a great place. And it's great not just because of that. It's also great for me because we are clearly driving these Gartner analysts insane with the amount and volume of new product features we're adding. They simply can't keep up with us. I was at one of the breakout sessions, and I overheard one of the analysts talking to a customer. He says, you know, I'm not really sure if Power BI supports that feature yet because I haven't checked their blog since last Monday. and it was only Wednesday. He goes and he literally pulls up the blog and he says, oh, in fact, Power BI does support hierarchies. I loved it, man. I love it. They can't keep up with us. And the team ships the desktop offering once a month. The service ships once a week. And we've been doing that since launch. We have not missed a deadline since July. And more importantly, the team is excited. Like, this product kicks ass. The team is excited to work on it. They are hungry. And we're not going to stop. We're going to take all of the user feedback you're giving us, and we're going to build unequivocally the best BI product on the planet. And we will not stop until we've done that. So that pace is going to keep continuing. The final thing, which James said in the keynote, and I think underscores everything, we as a design philosophy strive to make Power BI as easy to use, as easy to onboard as possible. And if you go into Building 17, you'll see a banner in the hallway. It says 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes to wow. And the idea is that anyone on the planet who has data in an Excel file or in a SaaS application can land themselves in Power BI, sign up, import their data, and have a great experience within 5 minutes. Now, I'm going to show you a quick demo of that because we think it's key. We think it's the keystone to everything else. But we got a lot more demos to show you. So let's jump into that real quick. Now, if I'm a Power BI user, the first thing I'm going to see is our beautiful homepage. I'm not going to go through, what's that? Oh boy. Sorry about that. This one's going to get kind of tough, guys. Yeah. 1 second. There we go. All right. Well, the first thing you're going to see is our homepage. Now, you can just click the Get Started for Free button. You can immediately download the desktop, or you can go in and sign up for Power BI. I'm not going to show that flow, but trust me, it takes about 15 seconds. once you land in Power BI, you will see an experience like this. So you'll be started with a default set of dashboards and reports. The first thing that you'll want to do as a user is you'll be prompted to go and pull in your own data set. And clicking Get Data will bring you to this page, which shows you all the ways that you can pull data into Power BI. Later on, you're going to see how we can pull data from your organization, but most people who are just tire kicking on the service are actually going to start here, either in Files, Database, or by connecting to one of our SaaS apps. So Power BI has, at this point, more than 60 different SaaS applications you can connect to and pull data from. And what we do, and I'll go and I'll try one. Let's do Salesforce. So if I'm a Salesforce customer, I can come here, find Salesforce, click Connect. I'll add my Salesforce credentials. And when I hit log in, a couple interesting things are going to happen. So now that I'm auth, we're actually reaching out into Salesforce, and we're going to present the user with a couple different ways that they can pull data from Salesforce based on their persona. All right? So if I'm a sales manager, I can click here, and I'll get a particularly tuned dashboard for sales manager. And if I'm a sales rep, I can click here. So let's go with sales rep. And in the background, what's happening here is we're actually calling out to Salesforce and pulling in that data and creating a set of dashboards and reports on the fly for me. Now, and you can see we're completed here. If I go to that dashboard, there you have it. So many other providers will simply get you as far as connecting. What you have with Power BI is an automatically created full dashboard. And if I drill in, I can see my opportunity amounts and so forth. If I click on this, I can see that it opens up in a report. And I can do all of the cross-filtering, highlighting, et cetera. And then from here, maybe I can even go and pin it to a new dashboard if I want to save this insight. So it's just that easy. In under 5 minutes, I connected to my data set on Salesforce, pulled that into Power BI, and I can actually build my own set of dashboards and reports. Now, let me jump back here. For this product tour, we're going to go a little bit deeper than what you saw in the keynote. And a second here. And we're going to start with Patrick Baumgartner, if he'll come to the stage. He's going to actually talk about how you can use the Power BI service and different solutions that'll be available to you. You want to start, Patrick?
Yeah, great.
All right.
So thank you, Nick. One of the first things when Nick was connecting to that SaaS app, when we first started on this journey, I remember sitting down, we were talking about strategy, and I was really worried about filling up that gallery of SaaS apps, because that's a hard piece of work, and it's not something that Microsoft traditionally did well. And now to see it that full is just amazing. And I knew we were hitting a good mark when there's a backlog of people that want to create SaaS connectors in Power BI that stretches out into the summer or beyond, where we release one each week. And people are now trying to bid their way up higher in that list to get out sooner. And so it's like you have your community actually working when that happens. So it's very exciting for us. But that's really how we would expect a business user, maybe a business analyst who's just coming up to Power BI, for them to just get started quickly, right? I mean, and there's a lot of value in those scenarios for creating your own dashboard. But then we have to think about the other types of solutions that are more traditional inside of an enterprise context. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, we'll do mostly demos, the different ways that you can think about deploying Power BI, getting it to spread virally in your organization, and to get as much value as you can out of Power BI in your org, and look at some of those different patterns. So I think we got to switch to the demo machine that's backstage. I think they said I had to ask for that to occur. So let's, oh good, we're there. So I'm going to jump around to a couple different things. We're going to use some of the content from the keynote, because I had to put a bunch of that content together anyway. So we'll use it here, because you always get multiple sessions, and got to use that. So keynote was very exciting. I think you saw a lot of amazing features, a lot of little snippets of features, whether it was sand dance at the end is just blowing me away, the ability to explore. But one of the things that actually was most exciting to me was that table. And the reason is, I always used to tell this anecdote about Power BI, that when I walk around Microsoft, you see literally everybody's desktop using Power BI. It's amazing to see the amount of usage. And I always pose this question: how does a product that has a completely inadequate table visualization get used by that many people inside of this large company to analyze data? And the reason was that we made it incredibly easy to share. And we took an all of the above process, we looked at all the different ways people might want to share, and we focused on getting data to people very easily and very simply. So what I'm looking at here is this travel, essentially, solution. And if I'm looking at this, and even though I have reshare privileges, it's incredibly easy just to come in and share this information. We actually support cross-tenant sharing. You can control that on the tenant level. Microsoft's tenant is turned off. So I could even share that to people outside my organization. And so we make sharing incredibly easy. And I just wanted to start with that point, because if you think about traditional BI solutions, you always have to say, what's the URL to this thing? How do I find it? And all this other logistical pieces. And if I come to my Microsoft, this is the Microsoft corporate login, which we're going to move to in a second. This is the set of dashboards that have been shared with me, right? And every day I come in, I get these little pop-ups that somebody shared a new dashboard with me because they've created some content. And it's just amazing to see the growth. And it all comes back to making it incredibly easy to share. In reality, when we started with this sharing feature, what we envisioned its main usage for is like an executive, right? Executive doesn't have time. They don't want to search through emails. They don't want to have to remember some URL. And at Microsoft, you just type msit.powerbi.com. Publicly, you type app.powerbi.com. Actually, it redirects inside of Microsoft. And when one of our executives comes in, they just get right here this giant list of all of the information that's been shared with them, and they can quick search. And I assure you, it didn't make the demo today, but we have a very nice UX redesign that's going to make this a little easier to find content, because we were just blown away by the amount of spread of this content. And the dashboard I'm starting with here is actually a representative one of what our Microsoft SLT uses. And that's really the first example I just wanted to highlight, is this: hey, I've got an executive, I've created a dashboard, it's pulling content from all across the company, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud, it's brought together, and it's shared with that executive audience, and it just pops up right away, right? That's a very easy way to start. And so and I want to do one more quick demo, and then we're going to get into finding some insights. The other thing we do inside of Microsoft is we might want to let people customize data or just discover data on their own, because I don't necessarily know the person I want to share it with. And so what we did is we took the same concept of these SaaS apps like Nick showed with Salesforce, and put them together in what we call organizational content packs. And so I can come to my org here, and so these are all the content packs that Microsoft employees have published as starting points for other people to go and connect to. And so we can think of these almost like little apps. They're little packages of information. I love that somebody has player versus player data from their team. I looked into this one. This is actually a team that everybody on the team plays Destiny as an Xbox game. And they took all their statistics and published a content pack showing how they're fighting each other in Destiny. And so you can and this is like a playground, right? You just discover all this information. And one that's very simple, easy to understand, is there's a content pack here for the Microsoft public earnings release, right? So I can just hit, I want to go get this content pack. And so that's downloading. I should have probably done it in a different browser session, or excuse me, in a different work group. And what that does is it reached out, it gives me a set of data, reports, and dashboards now for the Microsoft earnings release. And I can go ahead and personalize this if I wanted to edit the report, whereas the stuff that's shared with me is really that kind of lockdown executive scenario, and this gives me that flexibility. The other really fun thing is it turns out that this data set is enabled for Cortana, so I can just come here and say Microsoft revenue. And I can get, again, use this as a vehicle just to get information spreading virally through the org. So now I can just start discovering information and starting using it. So we think that's really a really cool, cool piece. But now I want to come back to that travel data and show how we might explore some of this data and find insights. So I think we've talked a little bit about sharing and content, how people get connected to stuff, and very easy ways to do that. But now I'm going to switch over to and the first thing I want to do is I actually have some unfinished business here, because we had a demo that didn't go well this morning. So let's say I have some access to some data. Let this thing load. And I want to get an insight on this data. So I'm going to go to this scoped insight feature. I'm not going to belabor the point because I already did my lead in last time. And we're going to get some insights on this. We're going to click Get Insights. And basically, the UI didn't respond. If I would have clicked Get Insights again, it would have showed up. But we have some insights, so let's see this. Well, this data set here, and so we think about progressive sets of disclosure of how people find information. At the top level, an executive is probably just looking at a dashboard. Maybe they're clicking around at a report. At the next level of insight, they might use Q&A. They might use some advanced filtering to try to dig a little bit deeper. And that's the same category we see this Get Insights feature, which is a person who wants to find a little bit more data, and they're willing to kind of play with the UI. So I ran scoped insights for these airports. Really interesting insight here. It turns out, just like we saw later in the demo, London Heathrow, we have this measure for lost savings. This means when you book a ticket, you could have booked a cheaper ticket. And it turns out like all the people not booking cheaper tickets for some reason are people flying from London Heathrow to Seattle. And I can even just almost do a dynamic drill down with this feature. So I say get insights on a scope, and I can kind of progressively get additional insights related to these scopes. And it turns out that British Airways, obviously, that's from London Heathrow, that internal trips, people are not making good booking decisions going from London Heathrow to Seattle. So this is an example of something that we would like even executives or end users to be able to do. And so you can scope this down, and this is that kind of first level with Q&A of data exploration. But I can go deeper. So I'm going to switch over and show one more quick insight here, or one more quick exploration. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard here. And Amir showed a little bit of how easy it is to explore, but I want to show one more quick exploration here. So I'm going to come back to my trips table. And again, this is a case where now we're moving into a user who wants to go one step deeper. They want to build their own reports. They want to explore on their own. So now we're down to a business analyst level. And what I want to actually look at is, we'll start by number of trips. Maybe we want to look at it by carrier. Let's flip this over. Now I want to look at cost per mile. That's the metric we use mainly for travel analysis because it's kind of apples to apples comparisons. And maybe we want to look at destinations. So what destinations have the highest cost per mile? We'll just throw the code in here because we'll have a big reveal. And so if I sort this, so it turns out there's this place that has this ludicrously high cost per mile named MCM. I don't know, does anybody know the airport code for MCM? Right? Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's do a table down here so we can cross-filter. So I'm just going to look at the locations. Maybe I'm going to look at the itineraries. It wants to default me to a map. We're trying to make a smart visualization choice here. Let me make this a table. So I got my itineraries. I got my location. Let's look at the how far on average. Oops, I wanted to put this over here. Air miles. Let's do the average amount of distance. That matters. We'll see why. And then let's put the carrier in here. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So let's go ahead and cross-highlight this MCM code. So it turns out it's actually Monte Carlo, right? And the trips, if we look at the itineraries, are actually Monte Carlo to Nice. I don't know if you're familiar with the geography of France, but it turns out those cities are 7 miles away. And if we look over here at the carrier, it turns out there's a set of employees that were booking helicopter rides from Monte Carlo to Nice. So we're going to assume the Grand Prix was going on, and there was a really good business justification for this. So we got to demo this to the Microsoft leadership team, and so it was a very interesting scene in the room where people were very funny laughing about this and wanting to know what's going on. But just like that, it's a very easy environment, just even in the web, to explore data. Every time I find an interesting insight like this, again, I can pin it back to a dashboard. Now, whether it's this, a custom visual, anything else, I can pin this back to a dashboard, and I can just continue building my dashboard solution. And then as you saw earlier, if I come back to my dashboard, it becomes very easy to feed this into that sharing aspect. So even here we have like cost per mile analysis using custom visuals and box plots, all that great stuff. So hopefully, I went over my time, I apologize. But hopefully you saw here, it's really easy to get started in the service, to connect to data and build a variety of different solution types and really focus on sharing and how to get that to the organization, whether I'm doing it in a work group, which we support, sharing cross-tenant, you can even share these to the web. So thank you very much, and I'll hand it back to Nick.
We switch back to slides. Okay. So thanks, Pat. The next part of our tour is going to be to take a look at the Power BI desktop. For that, I've brought, actually, let me talk about it a little bit. So if you guys saw the PC Magazine report that came out back in December, we're really proud. They did kind of a competitive analysis between Power BI, Tableau, Qlik, Domo, like all the big players all at once. And as you heard before, we actually tied for editor's choice with Tableau. And you have to remember, at this point, our product had only been in market for around 6-7 months. So we were very, very proud to see that. PC Magazine looked at both of these things, said, oh yeah, they're both very, very capable, similar outcomes. One key difference, though, which PC Magazine also pointed out, and this is a fact, Power BI Desktop is free. Free. So in order to show the power of desktop, I invited Lance to the stage. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. So I'm Lance. I'm from the Power BI team, desktop team. There we go. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the desktop today. So this is the desktop. How many of you have used the desktop? Everybody. All right. So that's great. So the desktop is intended as a companion product really to the service. And it's intended that they really work together. The big difference for the desktop, however, is that its goal in life is to support rich authoring tasks with the idea that you can work locally and then get the model and the report the place you want it and then publish it up to the web or share it. And so we share a number of components actually with the service. So as we look at the desktop here, the report canvas, that's something we share with the service. The visualization gallery, we share that with the service. The field well, the field filters, and the field list. But there are differences. So for instance, the field list supports modeling activities. I can actually do modeling things right here. The field list is actually not just a representation of what you can use on your report, but modeling things that you can do. And so I have up here as well a modeling tab where I can create measures, I can create new columns, tables, sort by, manage the relationships in my model. I also have additional views. I can look here, this is the data view. In the data view, I can see all the data that's in my model. So here I have 500,000 records. And then I have the relationships view, where I can see the relationships between my tables that exist. In addition to all of that, I have the ability to, let's go fix this really quick. See my queries that are actually, that I can actually personally manipulate. And you see up here, I have a rich number of transforms that I can actually do to actually bring my data in. So let's talk a little bit about how all of these work together. And I'll show you a little demo of how I put together the thing that I just showed you. So if I start with get data, here we go. And continuing on with the airline sort of paradigm, I'll bring some data in. And I'll bring in two tables, airport unique ID and this one on time, and go ahead and load those into the model. And this is all of the online, excuse me, this is all of the on-time landings in the United States simply for the month of January, and that's 500,000 records. But I'm bringing it in from Excel. Of course, I can connect to lots of different kinds of data sources. And there it is, it's landed. And so very quickly, I can go ahead and say I want to see weather delays. I can look at security delays. And I can look at, say, descriptions. And I can change this guy to be a chart like this. And I can choose to sort it, say by security delays. And this can give me a sense, very quickly I landed this, but how did that actually happen? What did we do to make that happen? Because there were two tables, if you'll recall. So when we bring in the data, we automatically do relationship detection. We automatically look and try and find the relationships that exist. you don't have to flatten your schemas into a single table. You don't need to do that. So we go ahead and find these relationships. And if they didn't exist, quite honestly, it's just a simple matter of doing drag and drop to create them. And you'll notice that we found that this was a one-to-many relationship. We set all that up for you. If you're familiar with the bidirectional or the cross-filtering, we set that up as well. If I come over here, I can go ahead and look at my data. Again, 500,000 records. And then I can look at this as well, and I can say, you know, maybe I want to add a calculated column. Maybe I want to do something else that's interesting. As I'm looking at this, I can go, you know what? There's a lot of data in that column. I'd like to go back and fix that. So I'm going to go bring up the query tool and edit this query. And I'm going to select this column, and I'm going to split it on delimiter. But before I do that, just take a look at the number of kinds of things I can do. I can remove rows, I can remove duplicates, I can use first rows as header, I can transform by pivoting, reversing rows. I have a huge number of transforms available to me. I don't have to rely on IT to do a lot of these things for me. I can just do them myself. So I'll just go ahead and split this. And if you were to look closely at this, you'd see basically it is the city name that the airport is in, the state that the airport is in, and then a colon, and then the name of the airport. So I'm going to split this on a custom delimiter, which is a colon. And boom, it's split out. I'm going to rename this to be airport name. And then again, this is still got some additional information in it, so I'll split this again. And this time I'm going to split it by the rightmost comma. And now I have the state that it's in, so I'll rename that to be state. I'll rename this to be city. And if you look what's happened over here on the right, I have this step-by-step list of things that I've actually done to transform. If I wanted to delete any one of those, I could just go ahead and delete them. I can go back and look at the state of the query at any one of these points in time. So I like it. I'm going to apply it, close and apply. Now I'm back in the model, and there it is. So I'm going to go back over here to my visual. Well, things are broken because I'm not using that same column anymore. So I'm going to fix this, but the way I'm going to fix it is I'm going to go use these new columns I created. But before I do that, what I'll do is create a little hierarchy. And I can do that just by dragging these guys right on top of each other. You can see that little hierarchy right there. I just created a hierarchy real time. And I'm going to drag this guy up here into my axis. And I'm going to get rid of the one that causes me an error. And boom, I'm in. So I can drill now. So here I have, let's say, New York. And I can right-click, and I can drill down. And I can see all the way down to the 2 airports that actually exist in New York City. All right, so that's kind of how the features all work together. The intent is that you can iterate here, change the model directly. You get instantaneous, almost kinds of changes. If you want to change the query, you can do that and bring that down, manipulate it. But when you're done, you can go ahead and choose to publish this thing. It'll ask you to save it. Call this thing test. And I'll just publish to this service. Hopefully we've got internet service here. But anyway, there we go, success. And I can go ahead and open this directly. That's it. So that's the round trip, right? All of these features working together. You change them. You want to come change your report again, you just go back to the desktop, make the changes that you need, go ahead and republish. Good to go.
All right. The slides, please. I think we need some help backstage, guys. Well, I'll just speak to it. So the final stop on the tour is going to be talking about the Power BI platform. And when we started Power BI, we of course wanted to have world-class desktop, world-class service. We always also thought to ourselves that any one key tenet of modern BI was extensibility. That is to say, you should be able to take any of our visuals and customize them to however you would like to see them. More than that, Power BI itself should be available to you programmatically. So on the front of visuals, every visual that you see in Power BI is now available in our open source library, free to use and free to customize. And then all of Power BI is accessible via APIs. And so I've invited Sachin to the stage, and he's our resident expert on both custom visuals and the API usage, to show you some of the things that you can build on top of Power BI by taking advantage of it as a platform. So take it away, Sachin.
Sure. Awesome. All right. So, can I have the machine back on? Okay. Awesome. So, okay, like any good BI product, if you have not noticed so far, we too have visuals, right? Unlike what our customers believe, we cannot create all the visualizations that are possible in this world. Right, okay. So a few months ago, we started this sort of experimenting with this idea about how we can sort of extend our visualization stack so that we can expose it to the world, and this will allow us to let customers build their own custom visuals. So if you wanted a Mickey Mouse to appear on your page, you can do that right now. And we were quite surprised. So our developer API is still in its preview stage, and we already have more custom visuals than we have visuals in our own product. And this number keeps changing every day, right? I started 3 days ago, there were 42. Yesterday, there was 43. And today, I'm told we have 50 visuals in our custom visuals library. And you can use these today. You can download them. You can use them in your reports. You can create your own visualizations. And these are just the ones that have been either contributed by the community or we have worked with our partners to have them be developed. They are custom visuals that you can build and you can share within your own organization. An example of this is, you must have seen this earlier in the keynote, is the one we built with Rolls-Royce, right? We had this guy, so you could build a jet engine, which was built on top of a custom visual stack that was a custom visual that was developed during our custom visuals contest. So you can build some pretty neat visualizations. So let me try and switch to one that you haven't yet seen. So this is a Sankey diagram that was specifically built for this report. And what you can do is you can sort of see, what are the various inputs and how they correspond to the outputs. All right. So let me move on. So that was custom visualization. So what's the first thing that we did? The first thing we did was we open sourced our visualization stack so that people could have a look at how we're building visualizations and contribute to them. The second thing we did was we offered a bunch of preview tools that you could try on, and you can create these custom visualizations. If you go to our GitHub page, and you sort of enlist into the project, you have a playground where you can play around with these visualizations. So you can see how they resize. Maybe I'll pick a better looking visual, maybe the owl gauge, right? You can sort of randomize its values. and goes green, it shakes its tail faster. You can also see how this visualization looks in a mobile mode, a landscape for that matter. And again, you can randomize, and so sort of to play around and see how your visual looks in a device before you go and ship it to people. Awesome. So in the next coming weeks, we will be also sort of releasing the first version of our API so that it is even easier for you to make these visualizations at the same time. You can, what do you call that? They are backwards compatible and they'll never break, etc. All right. So I had some network problems a while earlier, so I was trying to do this IoT demo where it sort of streams data, and now I'm streaming data through my phone. I have tethered up the connection, which is connected to this Raspberry Pi. I have a bunch of sensors, but you can see, even with all this network delay and everything else, I'm still able to stream data at a really high rate. So we've been sort of making investments. So we have had real-time APIs for a long time, and now we're making further investments into it so we can deliver real-time feedback really, really fast. So I have a plant here. I'm going to try and pour some water into it. Let's see. And you can see that the moisture levels, obviously the sensor's not been well calibrated, but you can see the instantaneous reaction. So a lot of times when we think about streaming data, we are like, oh, pushing data as fast as possible to sort of ingest it. Here we have something that will show you a two-way data binding. So I can control this light bulb, hopefully, through the cloud, right? And I can switch it back off. I promise I have no buttons here to control it. and yeah, so you can do these sort of things. We're also working with Microsoft Shuttle. So, oops, oh yeah. So let me start this little, never mind. So, so this is why we're still working with them. So we're working with Microsoft Shuttle, and what I was going to show you was how to make this real-time data. So the thing is, yes, real-time data, you can get data in seconds, but you also need to be able, when you're sending data this fast, what is the other things that you can do? So a few sort of scenarios came out. One was sort of we put our shuttles out there, we see where the shuttles are moving, how many people are boarding them, what's the capacity like at any given point in the day. Again, all this data is still being persisted, so you can go ahead and analyze it for historical reasons later. And we also are working with another company which is making shoes with sensors on them, so be able to monitor athletes in the field. We can also, so you can imagine like a soccer player wearing shoes, and we're sort of monitoring his movement, and maybe he's leaning on one foot too long, and machine learning will tell you that he's about to get injured, and you can pull him out. You can go back and analyze the data. You can sort of imagine scrubbing through a video feed and looking at Messi scoring a goal, and you can see where the rest of the players were at that point in time and how you can improve on that strategy as well. So you have all this sort of this ability now that with real-time data. All right. To close this off, I have one last demo. This has never been tested in public before. So let's try it out. I'm going to give you a link to go to. So let's switch. All right. So get your phones, navigate to this link. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to be the first one here. And we're gonna do a little thing together. We're gonna try and scratch in real time, right? We're gonna try to scratch it together, and you can see you can use multiple devices, and it just works. And it works very fast, and it's never really been tested at this scale, but seems to be holding up. All right, thank you guys.
I'm so glad that demo worked. I've only ever seen it with 3 to 4 people. This is what we had to show you today, and I just want to close it off by first thanking you guys for coming to our session, and then giving you, just some thoughts about where we're at. I think what you can take away from this session and hopefully throughout the day is that BI is really in a state of change. And I wanted to end this session on real-time data because I think that BI is changing in real time, and that each of you in this audience is going to be a part of this change that's happening rapidly. Folks who support Power BI, the way I like to think about it is you guys are riding the next wave, and you don't want to be a part of the wave that's going out. You want to be part of the wave that's coming in. And Power BI, I think, represents the best of breed when it comes to modern BI. When it comes to being able to do your data in the cloud without giving up on-prem, when it comes to be able to having a best-in-class desktop solution, and when it comes to being able to extend, integrate, and embed BI into your products. So with that, I want to thank you guys for attending the session, and I think that we have about 5 minutes left for Q&A, if anyone would like to ask a few questions. And I'll bring the other folks back out. Go ahead. I will try and repeat it. Yep.
There was a mention in one of the demos that it's hard to find everybody in the company is sharing dashboards with
Yeah.
everybody else. It's hard to find that. There was a mention that something better is coming. Is that in the next 30 days, that window? Is it farther on?
I will. So the question was, hey, I'm at a company that has a lot of Power BI users, and when I try and navigate, things are kind of disorganized and confused, I suppose. And the question is, hey, when are you guys going to fix this? And specifically, will it be in the next 30 days? So unfortunately, no, that is not going to be improved in the next 30 days. However, we have thought long and hard about this problem. And at the very top of our backlog is the idea that instead of having these individual dashboards and reports land in your left navigation, that they're grouped because they're related. Either they're part of the same content pack, or maybe perhaps they're even part of the same Power BI application. So you will see over the, I would say, 3-month horizon, a particularly radical change to how we group and navigate content within Power BI. And that's, we hear your pain. Like we're working fast to fix that. Oh boy, well you stood up. I'm gonna go with you.
As ISVs and VARs, we're trying to scramble to build out robust dashboards to provide to our customers. I think Patrick mentioned that you can share across domains. Right now, if you try to share a model and dashboard, if you go outside the domain, it says unable to share past organization. You would like to
So you should be able to, sorry, the tenant setting? Yeah, okay, so so that feature does exist. And perhaps it's not exposed just because the tenant level setting has it disabled. But a few weeks ago, we actually delivered the ability to share dashboards reports outside your organization. Okay. There you go, sir. Well, the desktop and the server. Oh, sorry about that. So good question. It was when you're onboarding people in a new organization, how do you determine which set of users to put on the desktop, and how do you decide which set of users you're going to put on the service? And just to pop up a level and maybe answer that slightly different way, when we design Power BI, we actually have 3 classes of users in mind. We've got IT folks who are managing all the data models. We've got analysts, and perhaps they're in central teams building out reports for the broader organization. And then we've got end users, people who simply want to view reports in a very lightweight fashion. The desktop is designed for that analyst persona. Right? And the service is primarily tilted toward that viewer persona. So on the service, it's going to be very, very easy to share and consume dashboards and reports. And then when you go down to the desktop, it should be very, very easy to connect to different data sets, mix and mash data, and build reports with another team of analysts. So that's how we think about that. Yes, sir.
You deal a lot with small businesses that are using SQL Server Express, and we want them to be able to create applications with locally hosted instead of the desktop version. We have it locally hosted so everyone can see a list of dashboards at that company. Is that possible today?
Are you so you let me just refine your question. Are you asking about kind of on-premise?
On-premise Power BI connected with a local SQL Server Express installation.
Sure. So the way that we think about Power BI on-prem, and unfortunately we didn't demo that in this session, but you probably saw it in the keynote. Oh, excuse me. Question was, how do I see dashboards and reports on-premise in a nutshell? And Power BI, the experience you're seeing here, is really our SaaS offering. When we are talking about on-premise, we actually want you guys to go and use SSRS. We believe that that's going to give you a better experience for on-prem. Right? It's got a revved navigational model with the integration of the data Zen technologies. It looks beautiful, and for on-prem, we're going to direct you there. All right. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
We have built our own Windows modern apps. Is there a way to integrate any of the Power BI visuals embedded seamlessly to modern app?
So the question was, hey, I've got a modern app. Is there a way, or when will I be able to integrate visuals from Power BI into that modern app? I have to hesitate and not give you exact timeline details on this. We're trying to restrict the conference to announcing things that are going to land within 30 days. But to pop up a level and answer it, yes. We have a team, and you saw Sachin was a member of that team, dedicated to making Power BI a great platform, not just for integrating Power BI, or excuse me, extending Power BI, but also integrating Power BI into other applications. So you can imagine that over the course of the next several months, you will see increased capabilities, APIs, SDKs that will enable you to take Power BI and put it into other applications. And I think we have time for one more question. Sir, take yours. Absolutely. So so the question was, is there an accessibility story for Power BI? The answer is 100% yes. More broadly, you guys might not be aware of this, but Satya, the CEO of Microsoft, is actually pushing very, very hard for all of his product teams on accessibility. And across the entire company, there are multiple initiatives to improve the accessibility for products. So with Power BI, that's definitely a part of our upcoming roadmap. For the features that you see currently, we're actually investing in going back and making them more accessible. And then what we're going to try and do, because the pace is just so rapid, we put features out so quickly, one of the exit criteria for new features that are going to land in the service and desktop, we would like to have a checkbox that says this is only ready if it's accessible, along with other criteria like security and so forth. So you'll see improvements on accessibility rapidly. All right? And actually, guys, I think that is my time. Again, I want to thank you for coming out here. I want to thank you for being part of the movement for modern BI. Thank you.